$3,000 a month. That's the number we're chasing today. Not someday. Not eventually if the market cooperates. A real, specific dividend paycheck landing in an account every single month, whether you show up to work or not. Most videos on this topic either wave a magic wand and skip the hard part, or drown you in spreadsheets until you close the tab out of exhaustion. We're doing something different. I'm going to show you exactly what portfolio gets you there, exactly how much you need at every stage, and exactly how long it realistically takes, whether you're starting with $500 or $50,000. You've probably seen a version of this video promising it in 6 months. If that actually worked, half the internet would already be retired. So here's the real one. Real tickers, real allocations, and a timeline that respects your intelligence. Let's build it. Before we talk about any single stock or fund, we need to answer one question honestly. Where are you starting from? The path to $3,000 a month looks completely different depending on the answer, and pretending otherwise is exactly why so many people quit before year 2. Let's use 3 starting points. Pick the one closest to you. Tier 1, you're starting from 0. No lump sum, just a monthly contribution. Say, $300 a month, growing as your income grows. If that number feels small right now, good. Small and repeatable beats big and occasional over a long enough runway. Tier 2, you've already got something saved. $10,000 sitting in an account, plus $500 a month going forward. Probably where most people watching this actually land. Tier 3, you've got real capital already. $50,000 or more, ready to be put to work today. From a sale, an inheritance, or a decade of disciplined saving that finally added up. Here's the part almost nobody says out loud. Tier 1 is slower for one reason, and it has nothing to do with effort. Compounding needs time more than it needs a big first deposit. Time is the ingredient money can't shortcut around. And Tier 3 earned its head start in a different order. That's all it is. A different order, not a different game. Same destination, different roads, different speeds. None of this is about which tier is better. It's about knowing which math applies to you, so the next section actually means something instead of feeling like it was written for someone else. Hold on to your tier. We're coming back to it with real numbers in a few minutes. Here's what most people get wrong about a dividend portfolio. They think it's one fund. Buy SCHD, sit back, done. SCHD is a great core holding. We covered that in depth in a previous video, but a $3,000 a month portfolio needs more than one fund holding up the whole roof. Think of it in 4 layers, the way a house needs more than a foundation. Layer 1 is the foundation, at roughly 40%. This is the dividend growth core, funds like SCHD or VYM. Decades of companies raising their payouts, not the highest yield on the list, but the one still writing checks in 2040. Layer 2, around 30%, is the income engine. A fund like JEPI or JEPQ. Covered call strategies. In plain terms, you trade a slice of tomorrow's growth for a fatter check this month. It's not a free lunch, but at least it's an honest trade. Then real assets. About 20%, and this one's easy to picture. Real estate investment trusts. Warehouses, apartments, data centers, all bundled into one fund, minus the part where you personally fix a leaking roof at 11 p.m. It tends to move on its own schedule compared to stocks, which is exactly the point. When one dips, the other often doesn't. You don't need to know which specific properties are in the fund, the same way you don't need to know every company inside an S&P 500 ETF. The fund is doing that job for you. Last piece, 10%. And honestly, the least glamorous of the 4. Short-term treasuries or a money market fund. This is the layer most people skip entirely. Right up until the quarter, everything else goes red, and then it's the only thing still paying. Put the 4 together, and you're looking at a blended yield somewhere around 7 to 8% a year. Somewhere online, right now, a fund is advertising more than that. There always is. This number just happens to be one this portfolio can actually keep paying reliably, boringly, for decades. Not for one great quarter right before it gets quietly cut. In dollar terms, on a $450,000 portfolio, about $180,000 in the growth core, $135,000 in the income engine, $90,000 in real estate, $45,000 held in reserve. Nobody buys it in that order on day one. Most people build this layer by layer over years as the portfolio itself grows, usually starting with layer 1 and adding the others once there's enough to actually diversify across them. Now let's go back to those 3 tiers and put real numbers on the table. At an 8% yield, $3,000 a month means an annual income of $36,000, which puts the finish line at roughly $450,000. Tier 1, 0 to start, $300 a month, contributions ticking up slightly over time, dividends reinvested along the way. That crosses $450,000 in about 22 to 25 years. Read that again now. That's what building from nothing genuinely looks like when there's no lump sum doing the early work. Bump the contribution to $500 a month, and the timeline shrinks to roughly 18 years. Small increases early save real years later. Tier 2, $10,000 to start, $500 a month after that. Same target, roughly 14 to 16 years, almost a decade faster than Tier 1, just from a head start and steadier contributions. Tier 3, $50,000 already invested, adding whatever's comfortable from there. 8 to 11 years depending on consistency and what the market decides to do along the way. Look at what actually shrank the timeline in each case. It wasn't a riskier fund. It wasn't a higher yield. Nobody timed the market perfectly. It was time and showing up with the contribution every single month without stopping. Old secret. Not a very exciting one, which is probably why it never trends. It's also worth saying these are approximate ranges, not guarantees. Real returns will bounce around this path, some years running ahead of it, some years behind. The point isn't the exact year. It's the direction and the fact that it's realistic at all. One more honest note, these timelines assume you keep contributing when the market gets scary, which is statistically the exact moment most people stop. The people who actually hit these numbers usually didn't find a better fund. They just kept going through the years everyone else paused. Now, the part most videos with a big number in the title conveniently skip. These numbers assume an average return, and markets don't move in a straight line, no matter how clean the chart looks on screen. Some years this portfolio beats the math above. Some years it lags. 1 or 2 years it might not grow at all. It might actually drop. Dividends can get cut in a genuinely bad recession. It's happened before, and at some point it'll happen again. That's not pessimism. That's just the deal. None of that breaks the plan. It just means the plan has to survive an actual bad year, not just look good in a spreadsheet on a good one, which is the whole reason this isn't one fund chasing the biggest number online. 4 layers means one bad headline doesn't take the entire paycheck down with it. Nobody's promising 0 bad years here. The promise is smaller and more useful. A bad year that's an inconvenience, not a disaster. So, $3,000 a month. Not a fantasy, not a weekend project. A portfolio built in layers, funded consistently, powered mostly by the one ingredient that actually does the heavy lifting. Time. 0, 10,000, or 50. The shape of the path barely changes. Only the length does. Next video, we take this exact portfolio and run it through a real recession so you know what to expect before it ever happens to your money. If you want to see that, make sure you're subscribed. Remember, the portfolio doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to still be standing in year 20. A little wealth, built consistently, can become financial freedom. I'll see you in the next one.